What's up, you guys? And I hope everybody is doing great out there with their training and their running and so on and so forth. So it's me, Rob, got another video for you. Shoe review, initial impression, I guess you could say. Let's go with initial impression on this particular shoe. And so before I get into this shoe kind of confused me because it's a shoe from Saucony that just came out. It's brand new for this year, 2021. And I wasn't exactly sure what this shoe really was, like where it fit in. And I had to do a lot of research on this. I actually created another video that I was going to do some like fancy editing and try to upgrade my little YouTube channel here, you know, to get you guys maybe a little bit better quality video. But I decided to scrap that video because I wanted to put more miles in on this shoe to get a feel for it. And that's kind of why I'm doing this video, just one more of my traditional videos. So I apologize about like not doing some fancy editing and all that kind of stuff like I was planning on doing. So I will get into doing some upgraded stuff here in the near future, guys. But thank you guys for watching. Before I get into this, please, if you get a chance, please click that like and subscribe button. That really helps me out to reach a broader audience and keep this channel going so that we can do more videos and do shoe reviews, training vlogs, all that kind of stuff. It just really helps me out, reach out to you guys around the world. So I do appreciate all of your support. And again, if this is your first time to the channel watching this video, welcome. I do appreciate it. So we're gonna get into it, and it's this shoe, again, brand new for 2021. It is this shoe right here. This is the Saucony Axon right here. It's a brand new shoe, and if you're looking at this, some of you might say, well, this looks ominously familiar, and I'm going to get into that here in just a second, why it looks ominously familiar. Just all around, you just look at the shoe, okay? All around, it looks ominously familiar. Like there's another shoe that Saucony makes that's very similar to this. And there is. And that's why I'm a little confused about this shoe and maybe a little worried about the other shoe that's in their lineup. So we'll get into that here in just a second. So let's get into the shoe just real quick. We'll go over what this shoe has. So we've got this engineered mesh upper, kind of a thin engineered mesh upper. Nothing fancy. This isn't really like a fancy like jacquard mesh or something really fancy. It's just a pretty basic kind of upper up here. You've got this overlay, the Saucony overlay right here. That's just traditional for them. I don't really feel that this provides any type of like additional structure to the side of the shoe. Not like some of the other parts that are on here. It's just kind of just a nice overlay. Everything that's kind of built on the shoe, by the way, is very robust. So you could definitely tell that they were built some quality into this shoe here. One thing I do want to note is there's this little TPU band. You can see it right here, okay? It goes all the way down and all the way across the heel counter right here. This, I actually do feel like this provides some structure. It goes on the inside too, and it actually kind of creates like this cinch band over the midfoot. When you tighten it down, it really locks in your midfoot really well and almost helps pull your foot back and down against this line into the heel cup that's back here. I really actually enjoyed that because as you lock the shoe down, I didn't have an issue with any heel lift at all. It felt really like nice in that pocket. So I'm really pleased with that type of construction. Just a little overlay right there, but it provides so much structure to this. You can see that over the eyelet chain, it's been reinforced, which is really nice. Even up top here, nicely reinforced. One of my favorite things about this shoe actually has to do with the tongue. And the tongue is not, so it's not a gusseted tongue fully. It's hard to see, but deep down in here, you see that there's just this little elastic tab that just kind of holds that tongue into place right down here. You see that? So it's not like a full gusseted tongue. It doesn't attach all the way down, but it helps keep the tongue in place from moving around, which I actually do really like. It's a very thin tongue, by the way, if you look. not a lot of padding here. In fact, I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to use this here in a second. So my Saucony Endorphin Speeds, okay? If you look at the tongue on that, kind of a thin, nice little thin padding here. It's actually a thinner tongue than what's on the Endorphin Speed. It's pretty crazy, all right? So that was kind of one thing that I wanted to point out between the Endorphin Speed. I'm actually going to bring that back out here in just a second. But that's one thing I wanted to kind of point out about it. And then you've got some nice padding around the heel collar here. Really, really nice. Nice heel pocket down here. Really locks you in well and really comfortable. Only thing that I would have to say is when your foot is sitting inside the shoe, the ankle collar does kind of come up a little bit higher than some of the other shoes that I'm used to running in. So did kind of have to take that into consideration, but it's not bothersome because there's some nice padding here, but it's just something that it just felt a little different initially when I stepped in the shoe. It's just, you know, I'm used to a little bit shorter heel collar, and this one's a little bit taller up your ankle. So just something that you have to keep in mind. Some people might not notice it, but to me, I'm used to running in shoes that are that way with a little bit different heel collar. So a little bit shallower of a heel collar. So just take that into consideration. Take it for what it is. That's just me. You guys might find it a little bit different, but it's breathable. It's really, you know, today it was 80. When I went for a run today, it was 80, 86, 87 degrees and pretty humid outside. And they breathe pretty well. I mean, it's a hot day and they were breathing pretty good. So I have no complaints about that. But just a very basic upper right here. The toe box is nice and wide. It's roomy. I went with my men's 10.5, and I have plenty of toe space. It's nice and wide. I don't have any issues with it feeling tight around my foot. I probably could go a half size down in this shoe, but at the same time, I'd be probably getting really close to my toe getting at the end. So just kind of, you know, keep that in mind as well. But to me, I went true to size. Don't have any issues. It's really nice wide toe box. So I really like that. So midsole, EVA foam midsole with that power run midsole that they have. Immediately out of the box when I was trying this out, it felt super firm, okay? Like just trying to do like a durometer test or something on it, it was really, really firm. And immediately I said, you know, I need to probably put some miles on this thing first before I can really say that it's a firm ride. And I'm kind of glad that I did put some miles in first on this shoe. Now let me go into the specs on this. 31 millimeters in the forefoot, 35 in the rear. It's a 4 millimeter drop from heel to toe. So it's a relatively flat shoe. And I'll do another video if you don't really know what offset is or foot drop or whatever type of shoes. I'm going to do another video based on that to kind of help instruct you on what just that area is. But it's a relatively low, it's a shallow foot drop, which is kind of nice, but got a lot of this foam in here. Again, 31, 35 in the rear, so a lot of stack height on this shoe. On the inside, you also have that form fit insole that, you know, Saucony tends to use on shoes like this. The Saucony Triumph 17 has the same type of midsole in it. This is a super comfortable shoe to run in, but we're talking about this one. So it's something that Saucony is known for, and something that was really interesting on it is if you look at the pitch on here, okay, I'm gonna bring back out those two shoes right there. If you look, they almost look pretty similar with that speed roll technology that's in here. Now Saucony doesn't say that that's a speed roll, but I mean, I put them in front, you know, right next to each other, and I'll be honest with you, they have the same pitch angles when you look at them. Same, exactly the same. So I would say that's definitely got the speed roll technology on it. They do say that it has speed something or another. I don't have the notes with me, but they do have like it's a speed something or another for it, but they don't call it speed roll, okay? And then going to the outsole, as you can see, lots of rubber right there. Traditional, and again, gonna bring it up. I have to bring this up because the outsoles look very similar to each other. Why do I keep bringing this up? I'll get to that here in a second. So the outsoles look very similar to each other, particularly in that forefoot, even going back to the heel, kind of similar to each other. So the only difference is where this has some exposed foam in between these little V's right here. Okay, this does not. This is literally full rubber from about here all the way through to the toe. So it's just full carbon rubber up top. I do have to say it's really durable. I mean, I've put some miles on this already and I'm showing like no wear on this at all. Going from, you know, mid-foot strike all the way through to the toe. It's actually holding up really well. And you do have some flexibility to it. It's not much. It's a pretty rigid shoe, even though it doesn't have a carbon plate or any type of plate in it. It's still a pretty rigid shoe. So I do have to give it some credit there. So a lot of structure to this thing, but it rolls through your stride really well. I do really like it. It does have some pretty durable rubber on this, and even the areas where there's some exposed foam, I'm showing almost no wear in those areas where there's exposed foam throughout the midsole area. So overall, I'm actually pretty impressed so far with the construction of this shoe. It's definitely, as they said, it's built for the long haul. It's built for a lot of mileage, long runs, so on and so forth. And going back to that durometer test, okay, so when I got this was really, really stiff, okay? This is really stiff. I've put about 7 or 8 miles in these shoes, 2 separate runs, because I don't like to overdo it when I break these shoes in. So did kind of do 2 separate runs, but about 7 or 8 miles have been in these shoes already, and you can see it's definitely softened up. I still got to use some pressure. It's definitely not like super soft. It's not like using a Hoka where it's like super soft, but even in the heel area, you know, you got some nice cushion back here. I definitely feel like it's softer back here than it is in the forefoot. So it does have some responsiveness to it, but it definitely does, like, the more miles I'm putting on this, it's getting cushion. It's starting to break in. It's starting to become more comfortable. And I actually kind of enjoy that because I know this shoe is going to be built for the long haul. So why am I confused about this shoe? It actually has to do with a shoe that's in the Endorphin lineup, and I'm not talking about the Endorphin Speed. I'm talking about the Endorphin Shift, okay? So I was doing some research between this shoe and the Endorphin Shift because they look nearly identical. Both shoes, the Endorphin Shift and the Axon, both have 4mm drops from toe, or from heel to toe. The difference is about 3mm of stack height. So the Endorphin Shift has 34mm in the forefoot and 38 in the rear. This is 31 in the forefoot and 35 in the rear. So it's only a 3mm difference in stack height. Not really a whole lot. Now, the difference also comes in weight. This shoe is about an ounce lighter than the Endorphin Shift, okay? Now, both the Endorphin Shift and this both have that speed roll technology to them. Both have the, you know, nearly the same stack height. Both have the same foot drop to it. Both almost fall into the same category as a long distance daily trainer type of shoe. This one is more built for a neutral runner. It's supposed to be a neutral run shoe, and you can see doing the twist test, I kind of agree with that. It does have a very wide platform to it, so I can see that the stability is probably going to come in because it's a very wide platform, but the Endorphin Shift was kind of the same thing. The only difference really between the Endorphin Shift and this was in the upper. The upper was entirely different. It was more breathable in the front, so it's thinner, but it also had a little bit thicker of a tongue. And then back in that heel area, there's a lot of structure back here, you know, almost like an exoskeleton going across the heel counter here to give you that extra stability when you go for a run. But the real shocker with these two shoes is when you think about the news. So Saucony has already come out and said, you know, hey, this is what the Endorphin Speed 2 is going to look like. This is what the Endorphin Pro is going to look like. But we haven't seen anything about the Endorphin Shift 2. But this came out with nearly the same specs and a cheaper price. Much cheaper price. Like $40 cheaper price. So the Endorphin Shift has a retail price of 140 US dollars. This comes in at just 100 US dollars. $40 cheaper. Pretty much the same technology, minus some stability. If you need the stability, go with the Endorphin Shift. If you don't need the stability and you just really need a neutral runner shoe that's going to do the same thing as the Endorphin Shift, then you get the Axon because it's cheaper. It's not rocket science, I guess. You get this because it's cheaper. It's got the same midsole. They're both using Power Run midsoles. The only difference is, like I said, there's 3 millimeters different of stack height. That's the difference. Okay? So after my runs, now I'm just going to get into the, you know, how did it feel? Where does it stack up? What would I compare this to? Okay? So I had to look at all of my shoes and kind of compare this to other shoes that I have in my lineup. There's some that I don't have, but for the price point, I kind of have to look at this in a certain light. So it's a long runner shoe. It's got that rocker technology in it. So where does this fit? Well, to be honest with you, let me get into the feel of the shoe. It feels initially right out of the box very similar to the Asics Glide Ride. You can definitely feel that pronounced rocker in that toe area. Like you can feel it, okay? And in a way, you kind of have to allow your body to adjust to the shoe because the shoe's going to want to run a certain way even though you're not used to it. Okay? So so that's something that you kind of have to get used to with this. And then kind of going beyond that, once it breaks in, it's actually rather comfortable. It's kind of springy. It's got a lot of responsiveness to it. It does have a lot of cushion, and particularly in the heel area. You feel if you heel strike accidentally, it absorbs the impact really well. And even if you forefoot strike, you know, it does have a lot of responsiveness to kind of, you know, bounce you forward, even though it's got all that stack height in there. So for me as a heavier runner, I actually really like this shoe because it doesn't feel like it's ever bottoming out. It feels like there's a constant rebound with that midsole. So I really like that. So it's overall, it's a comfortable ride. It's a comfortable fit. It's a no-nonsense shoe. There's nothing special that they're throwing at you, and that's kind of a good thing. You don't need anything that's that special. It's just a really good running shoe that you can put a lot of miles in, and it's built for those lot of miles. It's well constructed. It's well built. It's only $100. So what would I put this shoe up against? Well, out of this lineup so far, I would have to compare it to the New Balance 1080 V10, V11s. They're pretty much the same. The midsole and the outsole are pretty much the same. I'd put it in the same category as this. Rocker geometry, pretty responsive in the toe area, although maybe that'll be one of those battle videos that I'll do. Maybe I'll do that. So I would definitely put it in the same category as the 1080. I'd put it in the same category as the Hoka One Cliftons. This is the Clifton 6, but I'd still put it in with the Clifton 7 or Clifton 8, whichever one, because the Clifton 8 is coming out, just to let you guys know. Don't have my hands on it. Clifton or Hoka, if you see this video, I'd love to do a review on those. So I'd put it in the same category as those. Going over to some of the other ones, I'll go Nike Infinity Run, or React Infinity Flyknits. I'd definitely go with those because, again, rocker technology, responsive yet cushiony midsole here. I definitely go with, you know, in the same category as those. And yeah, I guess I guess I probably would have to go Asics Glide Rides. I guess I probably would. I guess I would have to go with it. If you ask me right now which one I would pick between the Glide Ride and these, I'd pick the Glide Ride. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the Glide Ride is an amazing shoe. So if you ask me right now to do a battle between those two, it would be the Glide Ride hands down. But this is a really good shoe, and $100. And that's the other thing, is I'm looking at those shoes that I have, and I go, a lot of those are a heck of a lot more expensive. You know, Infinity Reacts, regular price was $160 for these shoes. You know, I always, by the way, never pay full price for running shoes. Never pay full price for running shoes. Okay? There's always discounts out there, find them. Never pay full price for running shoes. So Infinity's $160, Hoka Clifton's $130 if you're looking brand new. The 1080s, the New Balance 1080s, $150, I think, $150, brand new. Those 1080 V10s you can get anywhere from $120 to $130. I think I've seen some as low as $100 on some places, so that one's not a bad buy if you can find it. The Asics Glide Ride, I don't think you can find the original Glide Rides anymore. I think they sold out of them, but if you can find them, they were right around $120. But all of those are like $120 or more. These are $100. I mean, it's really a killer deal. So, just my opinion, for a budget buy, long distance runner shoe, guys, I gotta go with this. This is a fantastic deal. I mean, for the money, I guess I could compare it to the Nike Windflows, and I know this is gonna shock a lot of you, but I'd rather run in these than the Windflows. Just throwing it out there. Sorry guys, I know I've loved the Windflows for a long time, but I gotta give it to these, man. These are an awesome shoe. So anyways guys, again, thank you for watching the video. I didn't get to, you know, do the fancy editing and stuff like that I wanted to, but you know, I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. And again, if you could, please click that subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff. Really helps me out. And as always guys, never pay full price for running shoes. And enjoy the run.